Well, I thought it was about time I got my hands on a Arrma GROM. I'd actually held off because, for a start, American brands cost quite a bit more in Australia. And secondly, I've just been so busy with the Chinese delivered stuff, particularly the Rlaarlo stuff, which has been quite good, honestly. And the last car I had from Rlaarlo, the last buggy, was the X12S, which is a brilliant little thing. But I didn't know much about the GROM, and people are talking about it. I try not to watch YouTube, RC YouTube, because I don't like to get biased about things. But once I heard that they now had a brushless version of the various cars, I thought, you beauty, let's grab a Typhon. I bought this one myself and see what we think. I really am quite a fan of this thing. Watch how it handles on the curves. It tracks. Hey, dog. This dog and cars, I tell you what. So this is what I've got. Now, the eagle-eyed among you may notice that the front shocks are a little bit too shiny. I ran this on one battery for 6 minutes before I hit a brick, and it broke the rod end on the bottom of one of the shocks. It was an unfortunate hit, and it might have happened to any car. To replace that little piece of plastic cost about the same as buying a set of 4 new shocks. So I bought a set of 4 new shocks. I haven't replaced the rear ones. They still have the stock on them, but these are just generic new ones. They're oil-filled and damped, and the car still drives as nicely as it did. It tracks like it's on rails, like it corners because it's counter-steering rapidly, faster than my even my intuition, my experience can keep up with. Like, before I can even tell that there's a problem, it's already corrected. That's the beauty of gyros. Now, aside from being brushless, this also is the newer Spectrum. You can tell when it's got the orange button on the back. This is the SLT2, yeah, the SLT2 that now supports their gyro, whatever the system's called, DSC or something, I think it is, Dynamic Stability Control. So small and brushless, if you want any kind of stability with any kind of car, and that goes for the Rlaarlo as well to a point, having a gyro makes a big difference. I will set this aside. This is not a comparison video, but I picked it up just to show you, hey, the X12S is roughly the same size, very slightly taller wheels, very slightly longer wheelbase, very slightly taller car. It's very slightly bigger, but it's not a lot bigger. They call it a 12 scale, and they're both brushless out of the box. It comes with a nice manual and a brilliant little charger with its little balance plug inside it. And then it's USB-C at the other end with a nifty little adapter for a standard USB-A. I really like that. That's quite good. Yet another decent tool from Arrma. You've got, it's a wrench thingy that lets you do the wheels, but it also can hold your Allen keys for you and give you a tool that lets you wrench on your car. I'm quite a fan of that. The original shocks did have this kind of protective cover. The rear ones still have it. So it sat over the top and protected the top of it, because these will take a hit upside down. And the manual's quite good. So I'll show you how the thing opens, and let's take a look at this car. It's not overburdened with tall gearing to be able to claim high speeds either. We're bumping over tennis balls and toys and all sorts of stuff here. Flies beautifully. The 1.4 amp hour battery is perfect. And while this thing takes 3S, really, I think 2S is where the fun is to be found. You get a longer runtime on 2S rather than 3S. One of the joys of driving this is just how well it tracks on corners. It's just a wonderful car. Right, so this is the car. The adjustments on this thing are the same basic layout as previously. You can reverse your steering and set a throttle limiter of 50, 75 or 100%. There's steering trim, and you also have steering rate. And if you hold this thing to the right, I think that's what it is, you can adjust how much interference there is from the gyro. I recall there was something about holding down a button as well, actually. The instructions tell you how to do it. So to adjust your gyro and endpoints, you hold down that button. That's how it normally turns on, but then you keep holding it down until it starts flashing There you go. And then you can cycle through the various screens. It's all in the manual. Anyway, the lid comes off this thing like so. It's just a little catch. Now it's not just relying on bendy plastic. There is actually a spring in there. Over time, if this gets wet or muddy, you might need to pull that apart and clean it. But it is a simple mechanism. The body's a decent quality Lexan, and I like it, or polycarbonate rather. And the rear is a clip that just sits in under the tower. There's no lateral strengthening that's up high, but it's such a small thing that it doesn't really matter like the bigger cars. It is, in fact, the entire thing is actually all composite anyway. There's not a lot of room in the bell crank area for stones to get in. That's the other thing I'm noticing. The front of this plastic wraps around and encloses it nicely. So unlike some car designs, which include this guy here, you've got big spots for gravel to get into. It's not uncommon to see that on any radio control car that's to be used off-road. This one is nicely enclosed in the front for the steering, so that keeps it out of trouble. As does this middle kind of gusset or cover for the center drive shaft. From front to rear, there is no exposure of it to the elements, to your wiring, to gravel, to anything like that. Little brushless motor lives in there. It's got a heat sink on it. The ESC and receiver, I believe, it's an all-in-one. Yeah, that lives there as well. And you've got a fan that's mounted lengthways that draws air across both of them, which is actually very clever. That also stops grass and stuff from getting stuck between the fan and the heatsink. It just sits there. And this design is such that it keeps a lot of crud out of the body. Again, I've been driving this on my dusty, very short, rough cut, grassy area. And with this body on, there's very little space. You just got to kind of line it up between the two plastic bits, then inchy clicks. There's very little space for stuff to get in. There are rear-facing air vents for air to escape, and there is a little bit of an air scoop in the front, a little bit, but not really. So most of the car will stay pretty clean while you're driving it, which is good, because that means your fan isn't impeded and your cooling isn't impeded. Now there's an empty battery here. Let me show you that. I've just been using the charger. I wasn't going to drive this today, but I've decided I will. It plugs in and communicates with you in a flashing color. There's green and blue and red as well. It's a 1400 milliamp hour 2S hard pack, and it's the perfect size. I often use aftermarket batteries with my cars. And again, I bought this myself, this whole car. It's not a sponsored video. For this one, if I wanted a second battery for this car, I would very likely buy another of the same. As far as rougher stuff goes, it's not going to do too well with big bumps because it's got small wheels. You can only do so much with a car with small wheels. But for what this is, very snappy four-wheel drive, very straight holding. Tires are actually quite good, and it holds the line beautifully with that DSC. Decent air authority as well. I really can't complain. It's certainly not the cheapest of little buggies, but the quality of the thing, the ability of the thing, and just the general all-around smoothness of operation makes this thing a pleasure to drive. This radio is very comfy in the hand. It can be done with one hand or two. I've actually had some success with liner tipping this over too, although we haven't had to do it yet. You'll note it's not really rolling much. The beauty of the Typhon, even the larger one, always has been a lovely low-slung model that is just very happy. It'll take 5C. It's a 30C discharge and it'll be a 5C charge. It's not unusual for me to charge my batteries at 2 or 3C, which is a percentage of your total discharge capacity. 1400 milliamp hour means 1C would be 1.4 amps. It's saying it'll take up to 7 amps charge rate, which is impressive. This stock charger I think is 2 amps, 2.5 amps, something like that, 3 amps. Input 3 amps, output 1.5 amps. So it charges just over 1C. Doesn't really matter either way. So we turn this sucker on. Plug this guy in. And the power button is just on top of the ESC. Keep it flat when you turn it on. 2 beeps for 2S. I don't know if this supports 3S. I think it does. In fact, I'm almost certain it does. Yeah, it's a 223S platform, so 2 and 3S. And this is your gyro in action, which is pretty cool. I really like this fan, this cooling system. The fan's drawing air across that way, so it's actually going across that, the motor and the heatsink, the motor and the ESC. So when it's all shut in, it's actually quite good to go. And I've got a dog here who absolutely loves driving with this car. Sure, I'm with it, I drive, and it's just a fun time. You hear that? The Rlaarlo does this as well, which is what you want. When you come off a big landing, you want the chassis to slap. You don't want the shocks to be completely extended without the chassis hitting, or else you're really stressing out your shocks. This is a well-made, well-designed machine. I really like it. I did have that unfortunate incident hitting the brick and snapping the rod end at the start of things, but really, it wasn't such a big deal. It's only because I'm pretty rural here. I don't have ready access to a hobby shop, not nearby. So all of my stuff has to come from the internet, and trying to find this part in Australia in stock and listed online was really hard. You may find differently. I'll put a link in the description to this car. There are two colors, there's blue and red. I'll put a link to the shocks I bought as well, just in case you are also in Australia and not near a hobby shop. The shocks seem pretty good. I've driven with it with the old and the new. What I should have done is followed through and put all four corners on the new one. The old ones were a bit plusher, but I can mess with that. I think the oil is a little bit stiff in this. Yeah, it returns too slowly, like it's still going down. Another hole in the piston could help as well. Anyway, that's the GROM 223S. There's a Granite GROM as well and a Senton GROM. So you've got your monster truck and your short course truck, as well as the buggy, all covered. I just think that's fantastic. No center diff, doesn't really need it, to be honest. The gyro is very, very nice, and this thing just handles like it's on rails. It is really good. This video is brought to you by my channel members. Oh, here we go. Lana, flip it over. Flip it over. Good girl, flip it over. We've practiced this. Flip it over, dog. Come on. Flip it. Flip it, girl. Flip it. The focus with the little GROM, even in rough stuff like this, is really on fun. I'm only using half throttle for most of it. Big bumps, way too big for this car. But it just does the job. And, you know, occasionally it's going to get stuck. Okay. Four-wheel drive, it's out of there. So how do we end this? I think we'd say that the GROM is beautifully composed, the Typhon that is. I can't speak for the monster trucks, and I will say one of the challenges I have with monster trucks is that I've always found monster trucks tend to flip too easily. The little cars, that is, and then it's just a bit of a pain to flip them back over all the time. Even when you get it out of shape like just then, you know, careening sideways, it stays upright for the vast majority of time. I've had it flip once in all of this driving, so I'm very happy with it. You can find a description in the description where I got mine. It'll just be an Amazon link, of course, but see what deals you can find. I recommend this car. Look, it is expensive. How does it compare to, say, the XDKJ005, I think, from Rlaarlo, the purple buggy? This is more refined. I would say the suspension is equally good, the brushless system's equally good, steering's equally good, but the fit and finish of this car is superior, and the radio is definitely superior, like no question, and you get a gyro. But then the price is also double, so the Rlaarlo stands very well for value there. I'll stick a link to my XDKJ005 review. Also the X12S is the most recent thing we looked at, and that, like we looked at on the bench just before, is a similar car that's still considerably cheaper than this, and the only thing really that I'd miss is gyro. They're both very stable vehicles. I think the other one, the Rlaarlo, will probably take similar amount of abuse, although I've only broken the GROM. I haven't broken the Rlaarlo, and I've definitely subjected it to a lot more abuse. Am I happy with this car? Yes. Let's just finish with a bit of air. If we're going to break it, now it's going to be when it is. What I'm about to do is abusive. I don't recommend you do it. This is not good for any car, even the cars that are made for it. It's not really good for them. But for a little car of this size, we're threatening to break the thing. Just making sure I've still got full function four-wheel drive. Yes, we do. We'll start little, and we're just going to ease up. Beautiful. Gosh, now there was a nice little chassis slap then. Oh, hang on. Yeah, there was a bit of a chassis slap on that landing. Oof. Now that landed on the front right wheel. Did we break anything then? Maybe. It was a nasty landing. Let's have a look at it. Dusty, but happy. Suspension's still doing its job. Damping's working very well. Now there is heat. I can feel quite a bit of heat. Let's have a look at it, just briefly. Fan is still running. It's dusty in there. But it's still running. You could run this on 3S. It'll take it. I think 2S is really the sweet spot. The body does get quite warm. This heatsink would be pretty toasty by now, but the fan is still running. I really can't complain about that. That's very nice. Battery's warm, so we're probably at about storage, I'd say, given how we've been running. Yeah, no, I like it. And look, the stock shocks in the rear is all I can talk about because the front ones are gone. They haven't leaked, and they're still damping like they should be. There is some kind of oily goop at the back, but we've also had a rock touch the cup there, but overall, she's a happy car. Servo's still hanging in there. Yeah, I like this car. Well, there you go. That's the Typhon 223S BLX GROM. I don't know if this represents good value to you because chances are you're watching this in the USA. If you're watching this in Australia, you're paying 2/3 the price of some of the other fast cars in 110 scale. So it's a bit of an ask from Arrma in Australia. If it's a lot cheaper in America, then yeah, by all means. It's a brilliant little platform. It'll drive better than some cheap 110s. So with the gyro and this brilliant brushless system on 2S, you will have a good time with it. I like it. Yeah, I'd recommend it. I like it. The question is, would you pay Rlaarlo money or would you pay Arrma money? I've had really good experiences with Rlaarlo so far. I have 3 excellent buggies from them. This has been assembled competently. Really, the only weakness I've found in the design is the front rod end for the suspension, which was this little plastic jigger. Yeah, these replacement shocks are actually quite good. I might even stick them on the back because I think I like them better than the stockers, but I mean, really, it's a well laid out car, isn't it? I quite like it. Anyway, I've said all I need to say, I think. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT. Cheers.